Hi, Evan.
Hey everyone, super intriguing and important chat today with a leader in detecting wildfires early and monitoring forest health through the Internet of Things. Karsten, how are you?
I'm fine, Evan. Thanks for inviting. How are
Well, thanks
you?
for being here. I love your mission, so important and so timely in the current environment. Before we get started, I have lots of questions. Maybe we could watch a video together to kind of
Sure.
give the audience some context for our chat. Here, this is from your website, and I'll hit play now.
The beating heart of the forest. We have seen the undeniable devastation caused by unstoppable forest fires and see a clear need for us to help our natural world. It's time we use advanced technology to help our vital ecosystems and to prevent further damage being done to our planet. Dryad have developed the cutting-edge technology to do just that. We embed sensors and wireless networks to monitor and protect the forest. Our sensors detect smoke and measure data like air pressure, humidity, and temperature, stopping fires early before the landscape is ablaze. Dryad's mission? Ultra-early detection of wildfires, to monitor the microclimate, and to restore our essential ecosystems to help in the fight against climate change. We at Dryad are connecting the natural world.
Wow, such amazing work here. Congratulations on that. And now give us a bit of an overview and the genesis of Dryad Networks. How did you get this amazing organization off the ground?
Well, it's been we started 2020. This is actually my fourth startup. My background is telecommunications. I've done three startups in mobile email synchronization, device management, all the types of mobile technology and network infrastructure. And after I sold my last company, when you sell your company, you fall like into a hole. You don't know what to do next. And we had lots of wildfires on the news. For me, the first time visible in 2018, 2019 in California, in the Amazon, and in Australia. And that kind of struck me that this is a real threat that needs to be addressed. And when you have a hammer, everything starts to look like a nail. And my hammer is telecommunications and infrastructure. So we actually started to think about how we could use telecommunications, IoT, to help stop this growing threat, which is wildfires.
Wow, well, it's an incredible mission. And let's dive into the technology to start. I'm a techie, mobile geek as well, so I'd love to understand the IoT technology behind the
Mhm.
system and how does it work, both for fire detection as well as forest monitoring. Maybe give us an explanation of the tech behind the scenes.
Well, from techie to techie, I love that as well, of course. So, yeah, we throw a lot of technology at the problem. It starts actually at the sensor. We developed this sensor here. It's a solar powered gas sensor that you can think of it like an electronic nose. It actually can smell a fire. It's not like
Mm.
a particle sensor. It's a gas sensor that's sensitive to hydrogen, carbon monoxide, and VOCs, and it actually uses machine learning in the sensor to detect the patterns that are typical for a wildfire. So it can actually distinguish different types of smell, distinguish a wildfire from that of a diesel truck driving by. And when it detects a fire, it sends an alert over a wireless network, giving the geo coordinate of the sensor that actually detected it. And that's the second part of IoT technology. It's the network infrastructure that we place in the forest, because in the forest, as you know, if you go hiking,
Mm.
there typically isn't any mobile network, right? So how would those sensors actually cry for help if there is nothing that they can use, no 4G, no 5G? So we actually have developed this. It's a bit bigger. That's again solar powered, but it's a gateway. It's a solar powered LoRaWAN mesh network. So we actually create the Internet of Trees, if you want,
Wow.
a redefinition of IoT. So we create a digital network infrastructure in the forest that enables the sensors to communicate even in the remotest locations where there isn't any 4G. And so we create the infrastructure and then we put the applications into the network. You can also think of us like the AT&T of the forest if you want, because we create the network infrastructure and then the applications.
So much, opportunity there in these networks you're creating. But what were some of the challenges that you faced? I mean, it's such a difficult, non-standard environment, let's say, for these applications. What were the challenges, and how did you overcome them to get a successful implementation?
Well, I mean, there are a lot of challenges actually if you try to do IoT in the forest. The first of all, it's very hot, it's humid, it's raining all the time, cold in the winter, hot in the summer. So electronic doesn't like that. The second thing is we didn't want to bring fire starters into the forest. Would be kind of ironic if a fire detection system would actually cause a fire. So we had to avoid the use of lithium-ion batteries in the sensors and the gateways. So we opted for supercapacitors. If you look at these sensors, that's an open model. We don't have batteries, but we have two supercapacitors here that store the energy. And the challenge here is twice. We have a very small solar panel, and in the shade it produces even less energy. And then the supercapacitors, they don't have so much energy like the lithium-ion batteries. So in a long-winded story, cut short, we had to work very energy efficient. The electronics and the software have to work with very little energy available during the day, and then during the night even worse because there is no sun shining. And still the sensors have to do quite a lot of data processing to detect the patterns that are typical for wildfires. So it's like running machine learning on the edge in a very resource-constrained device that also has to be cheap. We're selling them for less than $100. That was a big challenge. So get something that's dirt cheap. We can have lots of them in the forest and work through the night without lithium ion. These were a few of the challenges.
Amazing engineering work there. And so how does the technology help detect wildfires early? I mean, it might seem obvious, but this is non-trivial, really important work. What's the first trigger, if you will?
Well, normally you would think, and pretty much everyone asks, well, why don't you use satellites or cameras? And satellites and cameras are quite good. Satellites overlook everything from above, and the cameras can look, if they're high resolution, maybe 10 miles in radius. So that's an amazing area that they can overlook. But both cameras and satellites cannot see what's happening under the tree canopy, for example. And most fires, in fact, 85% or so are human-induced. So it's reckless behavior, it's technical faults, it's accidents, it's arson. Fire starting typically on the ground, under the tree canopy, invisible to satellites that are often also not present because they keep moving all the time, and cameras that overlook the tree canopy from the side. So sensors have an advantage in being embedded under the tree canopy, very close to the action. And because we're so low cost, we've got a lot of them. So we're really closely knit. We've got a closely knit network in the forest that can detect fires as early as the smoldering phase. So before there is an open flame, before there is a smoke plume rising above the canopy that can be seen from afar, we want to ring the alarm bells as early as possible to enable the firefighters to extinguish the flames before they spread out of control.
Fantastic. And how do you integrate into existing networks and systems from first responders or municipalities? I mean, I imagine that's quite a task as well.
Yeah, so I mean, the whole SilverNet system of Dryad, it starts with the sensors. It transmits the data over a multi-hop mesh network to the edge of the forest. There we do have an integration with 4G, LTE, or satellite to actually bring the data into the cloud. And once we're in the cloud, we can then connect to existing IoT systems, for example, of the firefighters. We interface using MQTT as an interface where we can send a geo-coordinate into a command and control system that the firefighters might have, so that they can then handle the incident that we reported. So we have interfaces, APIs in the cloud of the Silvernet system that can connect it to existing IT systems. We're not expecting, the firefighters of this world to all use Silvernet. They want to use the information that's coming out of our network, but not necessarily our network to respond. For that, they've got existing command and control system and IT systems that we then interface with.
Fantastic approach. And talk about the data that you generate. Must be a lot of data. How do you ensure its accuracy? How do you avoid false positives and all the other challenges with data that you get from a system like this?
Yeah, I mean, we don't just use the systems to detect fires. We also transmit temperature, humidity, air pressure, air quality. So you get information about the microclimate and air quality out of the system. So there is data coming out of the network that we then store and enable for further processing. So we store the data in the cloud database and make it available to our customers to process. And to answer the question regarding false positives, that indeed is a big challenge. And the way we're doing it is with machine learning. So we basically have a machine learning algorithm that actually learns over time. It gets better and better and better with regards to what is the normal smell of a forest. And so we can actually create site-specific machine learning models to make the system adapt to the typical smell of that particular forest, because an oak tree forest smells different than that of pine trees, right? Or eucalyptus. So we actually learn the background noise or smell, if you want, create a machine learning engine that's specific, and then over the air deploy using firmware update over the air, updated machine learning models. We distribute those into the sensors to make the system optimal.
Incredible. What a great use of technology. So can you talk about where you are in your rollout, how you're making an impact today? Any anecdotes or stories you might be able to share?
Yeah, I mean, we're still in early stages. We started in 2020, developed for 3 years on the product. We're now 48 people, 30 engineers working here out of Germany. And last year we started selling the solution. And now we've sold last year about 20,000 units. We've deployed them in Greece, in Spain, in Portugal, in about 50 installations worldwide. A few of those also in the US and Canada. Wildfire in California is having a 400 sensor deployment in the Jackson State Forest, for example. We have deployments with railroad operators, with power line operators. And they're still relatively small with a few hundred or a few thousand sensors. This year we want to go real volume. And the key question that we've always been asked, well, how many fires did you actually prevent? Well, not that many, because we have to ship hundreds of thousands of units before we really can have an impact. But we did detect actually one unscheduled fire. Most of our customers, they deploy the system and then they light the fire to see if it actually works. So we've detected hundreds of those. But one fire we actually detected in the Lebanon. We have a deployment there, a small one with a few hundred sensors. And there was a farmer who was, despite clear situation where you're not allowed to light a fire, he did burn some old grapevines, and we caught him. So so the sensors picked up the fire. The authorities went there, slapped his wrist, and that's it. So the first fire we can successfully claim that we prevented and detected before anyone else did.
Well, that's fantastic. And what do you need to scale for folks watching or listening or reading this blog that I'll write about it? Is it just more customers and scale? Is it involvement of NGOs and governments? Is it funding? Well, how can people get involved?
Well, I guess all of the above. We've raised about 18 million euros so far, but of course, this is a global problem. We really need to scale, and we need to scale fast. And so we're building our sales and marketing team. We're handling lots of interest from all over the world in our product. So we have to scale the company. That's the current challenge. That does require additional funding for the company. We're also interested in substantial opportunities where there are large scale potential deployments. We always want to have a big impact and make a lot of money. So that's what we want to do. We want to use technology to prevent wildfires and do that very profitably. So opportunities where both of that can be true are very interesting for us.
Okay, well, it's a call to action for folks listening or watching. What's next? Can you share a peek into the future, near term, long term? Where do you see your technology and this entire space evolving?
Yeah, I mean, our vision is to develop the Internet of Trees, the SilverNet.
Mm.
And the wildfire sensors in our network is the first application, if you want, of many that we want to develop. It's a very valuable application, but we can foresee, and we've actually started to work on additional applications that would utilize that network. Think about soil moisture, tree growth, chainsaw detection, gunshot detection. There's so many things you can do once you have IoT and the network infrastructure for that in the forest. And we would like to be that AT&T of the forest. So that's our mission and our vision for the next few years. And then we have a moonshot. Well, that's a crazy thing that we want to do. Let's see if we can actually do that. We've got this idea that we can detect these fires when they're very small and very early. How about if we would also put them out? And that's a vision that we share with many other companies. And I think that's a development that will happen over the next 10 years, is to develop systems that automatically extinguish fires, that systems like ours are detecting.
Wow, such important work. And also not just for environmental sustainability, but for health and wellness and healthcare. There was a study yesterday released that 50,000 lives were probably ended prematurely over the decades from wildfire smoke.
Yep.
With elderly and other folks. So it's pandemic proportions as this problem gets worse. So as we head into the summer, for many of us in our hemisphere, we're heading into wildfire season. There must be quite a sense of urgency to get this technology out there. What are your plans for the next few months as you work with customers?
Well, indeed, we're doing a lot of pilot deployments right now, scale and deployments, and supporting all of our customers that are interested in the solution is the plans for the rest of this year. We're bringing more and more sales and marketing, supply chain, logistics, customer success people on board that actually help us to scale the business.
Fantastic. And what about you personally? I know it's summer season in Europe. People like to take a little vacation. Any time off for you and the team, or you working too much, too long, too hard?
If you ask my wife, it's the latter. Yes.
Okay. Well, thanks so much, Karsten, for this quick overview. And you do an amazing job on social media. It's how I got your attention. And folks, follow Dryad Networks and the team and the work they're doing on YouTube and here on Twitter X, LinkedIn, and other places, and share the content. Let's help get the word out. Thanks so much, Karsten.
Thank you, Evan.
Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.